Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the workshop. So today I'm going to be talking about, does forging on rust matter? Thanks for watching. Okay, so this is what we got. I have two pieces of steel, similar size and thickness. One has been cleaned off of all mill scale and is a fairly clean piece. Now this is an over-exaggerated piece, as you know, you can get them with factory scale finish if you like. That's just your standard new stock. I just wanted to go ahead and clean it off nice and shiny, so this way I could illustrate this point effectively. Now the other thing you have here is a completely rusted piece of steel of the same size, stock, and material thickness. Okay, so what I want to showcase here, and what was asked of me by a subscriber, was can you forge on rust, or is it a good idea, or do you just need clean material? I hope to illustrate the differences between the two and then talk about some of the results that we're having here at the end of this video. So I'm going to get both these hot. I'll put the clean steel in. This is the same fire. They're both going in the fire the same way. And I'm going to hopefully keep part of it out of the fire and not scale it up with the fire scale. And then I'm going to go ahead and put in the dirtier steel, keeping the original stock out of the fire just a little bit, and we're going to test this out. Now I can say from experience that a well-polished steel before heated will develop different surface characteristics because it's not protected by the mill scale. As far as rusted material, the rust is just forming as an oxide layer on the steel itself. So it will rust. If you were to scratch it, it would rust worse. If you keep cleaning it, it'll just keep rusting, so on and so forth, if you get rid of that mill scale finish, okay? So we're going to heat these up to a scaling heat, or a scaling temperature, okay, that you would get fire scale from. And a fire scale temperature is at a bright orange to bright yellow heat. It starts in at a bright orange and it continues at a yellow heat. Could just get worse and worse, and that is the oxygen interacting with the surface of the iron and creating iron oxide. If you introduce a little bit of moisture to that, you get rust. But we won't go into all that specifics, as I am not a specific chemist or anything like that, so I won't get into all that mess. We're just going to see it from a simple blacksmith's point of view. So I'm going to go ahead and forge on these two pieces. We'll be over at the anvil. I'm going to forge on these two pieces, and then I'm going to wire brush both, and we're going to observe the result of the surface finishes in detail. Okay, so I'm starting with the clean piece of steel. I'm just going to draw a little taper on the end of it, just to reduce it. Nothing to it. Just really trying to reduce the thickness here. Add some hammer character to it. Okay? I also want you to take note of how much scale popped off of there. Alright. Now that's been hammered. You know what? Let's not brush it. Let's just leave it like that. So there's the original. There's kind of non-forged. There's a forged. So we'll just let that off the side. Now let's go ahead and do the rusted material. Same heat, just with rust. So I can tell you right now, not much difference as far as scaling is concerned. All right, just going to dress this up a little bit. Once again, we're not going to brush it. We're just going to leave it like that. And now let's go over, let's get a little closer look on these. Okay, so here we are. Here's our finished result. So as you can see, the bottom one here is with rust. The top one here was the cleaned finish. And here's what the forged results are. So as you can see in this example here, there's not a whole lot of difference. This one appears off first hand to be a little cleaner, marginally better than what the rusted material is. So I hope that'll answer that question well enough. Now I'm going to go ahead and point out just a few points here. Just because I did this and I took a real clean piece and I did a slightly rusted piece, this is what I would just call, this is just a surface rust. This really is not that bad rusting at all. But I will go ahead and point this out at this juncture in time. You can see there's not much of a difference here. You have to remember that rust is just the iron oxide layer interacting with the air and moisture to create rust, okay? Same way that in the fire, the air mixes with a lack of moisture to create fire scale on the actual iron. So therefore it comes out with an iron oxide layer. So these are just both forms of scaling, so to speak. This one's just a little aging. This is what happens when it interacts with moisture. This is what happens when it, obviously just interacts with just the fire. It has the fire scale without the lack of moisture, so it still has oxygen in it. So does this mean that all rust can be forged on? No, it does not. The reason why I'll say that is there are some pieces that are so badly rusted in that they are delaminating even. They've got rust in between the grains of the material and it just crumbles when it's hit or things like that. That type of severe oxidization and rusting and that type of severe iron oxide layering within a piece cannot be forged on. And you can indicate this by some pieces that are really super pitted, really hard rusting and things like that. In wrought iron, you'll see it like splitting and splintering off. Some of that can be worked out, but it's not good quality wrought iron. And then, just even in mild steel, I've seen it do that to where the rust is taken so bad that this thing, that, when you hit it, just most of the mass fades away in oxide layer. So it's really just not worth it in a conducive work to try to clean it up. So, final verdict. If you're making a project for a customer or a client, you want to take and provide the best value that you can to that client. So in that case, I would pick, if you had the choice between picking up something that's dirty and cruddy and looks like it's about to fall apart and picking up brand new stock, I would go for the brand new stock. You owe it to the customer. The only case that's an exception to that rule is if the cruddy piece and what you were doing with the new piece really wasn't going to matter or it was not going to detract from the overall quality of the product. When it comes to just doing something for yourself or a piece of tool around the shop, as long as the structural integrity of the steel is not compromised, use rust all the time. You can look around my shop. There's hundreds of examples, hundreds if not thousands of examples. Let me take you up here and zoom you to the junk that I got on the floor. I will pick up every ounce of that if I need to take and make a tool out of it, weld up something. Look at that stand. That's all rusted to beat the band, Hell, the outside of my forge is rusted. Look at all those mild steel dies for twisting stuff, making hooks and jigs and whatnot. Look at all the punches up there and stuff. They all have a light coating of rust on them. It's just not a structural problem. If it's going to be a structural problem when you come to making a tool, steel, or something like that, and it's really going to inhibit maybe a good weld or something that you're doing on it, clean off the rust. If it can't be cleaned, find a new piece. So hopefully that answers the question well enough. Sorry it took a while to get back to that one. I will try to take and slowly get back at everybody's questions that they have and get some answers. And, you know, that'll just be at my leisure over the next several weeks or so. So thank you all for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give me that thumbs up. If you didn't, give me the thumbs down. Either way, appreciate the feedback, and we will catch you on the next one. God bless you all.